in Uganda, the homosexuality bill, which had been dropped by the cabinet because of international pressure, was retabled last week on Tuesday, and it has again created an international outrage about it. This is because the most draconian clause in the bill calls for death penalty for serial offenders of homosexuality. And then another clause which most people don't understand is the idea that each person will become a spy, because there is this clause: if you don't report to the authorities that a person you know is engaged in homosexual acts, then you're liable to be imprisoned. And so that means that every person in the country will be a spy against each other. So it tags, you know, the community members, people like landlords and employers. So it affects everyone. Then cutting the aid, I find that it is a counteractive measure, because many countries rely on foreign aid to carry out different activities. If you look at the health sector, if you look at the education sector, because the United Nations has been involved in the big debate of the Millennium Development Goals, and you know, it's like they were hoping that many African countries would have reached the goals by 2015, but these kind of cuts are going to deal the different countries negatively. And I also fear that it will impact on the gay communities in those countries terribly, because I can foresee politicians saying, oh, you see, because of the advocacy of the gay rights in the communities, the Western countries have cut off aid to us, so we don't have money to put to the hospitals and to the roads. And as one of the gay rights activists in Kampala said in the wake of retabling of the bill, his concern was he is not afraid of the police coming to arrest him. He is afraid of the community members coming to his house to burn it down. So it goes beyond just the broad political aspect of it, where it can be controlled, but how can you control the community? We all know when masses get hysterical about a thing, it's very difficult to stop it. I think that a lot more background diplomatic pressure could be put on the different governments, and not coming out with this kind of harsh, can I call it like harsh punishments. Previous experience have shown whether embargoes are put on governments, it is the common man that suffers, because the same countries that put the embargoes, trade embargoes or different kinds of embargoes on the countries, don't actually go to freeze the accounts of the politicians in their countries. So these people still have access to travel. They are not really affected, but it is that woman down in the village who will go to a health center to give birth, but there is no medicine for her. You know, there is no nurse who is paid, or a midwife to help her. So that is what, you know, that is the effect of the embargoes. And so that means that the health of the country is affected. So I would appeal to the policymakers in Washington, D.C., to the policymakers in London, you know, to rethink this proposal of cutting foreign aid. There are different ways of dealing with the issue, putting pressure behind the scenes on the policymakers. In the case of Uganda, when David Bahati retabled the bill, members of parliament were reported to have shouted, "Our bill, our children," and some gave him a standing ovation. What does that mean? That the different pressure should be put on the legislature as a whole, not just singling out one person, and then also having more sensitization, because I am positive that there might be some members of parliament who have not even read the bill, who don't understand that in passing this bill, it's going to affect everyone, even the same people that are passing the bill. It's going to affect all of them. And then also, there is this belief that retabling the bill is a way to try and take away the pressure from what is actually going wrong in the country. Uganda has seen challenges in the past, you know, with people protesting what I would call the walk-to-work protests because the prices of fuel have gone up. And the government has really reacted in a very militaristic way. The riot police is always on the ground, and at every walk-to-work protest, there's either a death reported, people have been killed and seriously injured, you know, so there is this growing disenfranchisement and discontent within the country. And so there is, I think it is good to look at it in that way too, that, you know, trying to put away the attention from what really needs to be done, because when the bill was retabled in the parliament, the new members of parliament that had entered in the new parliament were each going to be given $40,000 to purchase new cars at a time when the economy is doing very badly, the infrastructure is, you know, doing terribly. The teachers in the country have been asking for a 100% increase in their salaries, and the government is saying, no, we are not increasing salaries, but then the same government is willing to give out, you know, this amount of money to this large parliament, which I must say is extremely large. And so having the bill is a way, I think, to take people's attention from the real issues on the ground. And so the best way that the governments would really work in ensuring that the rights of the homosexual community, the LGBT community in Uganda and in other African countries are respected, I believe, would be through the background diplomacy and sensitization, because that is a very big point. Many people just talk from what they hear, but they have not read the bill.